Yeah, and then she she dipped it in toffee yogurt. I'd never done it. What? Sorry. Hello. Hi. This is Werewolf, the podcast, the serial killer drama. Yeah, that's us. And buy our books, mine and Greg's. They're in the description. That would be really nice of you. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the continuing story because I've left in Greg cracking because it's good. Enjoy. Wing Commander Montgomery Fortescue here. Supposedly bloody retired, but obviously not. I'm supposed to be in my hell, apparently. Doesn't seem so in this case. Scotland. The Montrose Airfield. Again. The first RAF base, well, even before the RAF existed, to be honest, it was a flying corps. You'll never forget your first airfield. No. Not in the way you'll never forget your first lover. No, it's far less embarrassing than that, to be honest. But you remember it in the way before your mind even bothers to. The wind and the weather here, it had a personality. Well, of course it did. It was the old Scottish weather, wasn't it? It was off the North Sea. The wind, was it not? This bloody miserable making wind didn't merely blow, though, did it? It objected to your simple presence. The good green God's own ground was another thing. It had the reassuringly treacherous quality of being technically solid while remaining philosophically unopposed to utter bogginess. I found myself strolling across this far-flung grassy patch arm in arm with my luck, which is exactly the sort of thing one should do when one discovers one has arrived in a supposed hell. No sense giving it the satisfaction of a frightful frightened reaction. "Bit lively, what?" I remarked to her, my luck that is, glancing skyward. The weather what?" I validated. Luck nodded her perfect freckled features as she squinted through the belligerent blustery breeze at the horizon.
"Oh yes. The sort of air that wants to have a conversation with your wings. Possibly an argument."
Yeah, she said. I looked at Luck looked at me, and we looked at each other. She never bloody failed to impress, and we had known each other for an awfully long time by now, by then, by there, by here. Normally, people I know fail me at some point. People always tend to do so, It is an inevitable. It is inevitable with most relationships. Never heard of. She'd never let me down, not once. Although, was she a person? A people? No, not a people person. A person with right? I don't know. She was not one though. I scratched the stubble that had grown on my chin. Another bloody damn thing to contend with when this bloody thing was over. Well, that I would hopefully get to contend with if this bloody thing was over. Was Luck human? Was she? I don't know. Today, perhaps not today, but now I would argue for yes. That was confusing. I mean, apart from those green glowing eyes, eyes. I mean, they're not very human, those, are they? You know what I mean?
"I am a personification,"
The lady said. Yes, my dear. I do get lost in these pronouns these days, though. I told her in a quandary as to what I even meant. Thankfully, the weather worsened as a distraction from me and my babbling nonsense. That was done by Belphastus, methinks, because he had all the subtlety of a man rearranging deck chairs on the bloody Titanic with a sledgehammer. Strange description of the workings of a man's mind there, but apt in this case. In this case, I like to think, much like the Titanic, I'm bloody unsinkable.
"The Titanic sank?"
Said Luck, reminding me that she could read my thoughts. Oh, yes. I reconsidered. Quite so. and then suddenly looking up, the sky just bloody collapsed. Yes, it just collapsed into what I could consider as intransient rain. Yes, intransient rain. Not rain as one usually experiences it. No, you understand. Even in Scotland, this rain had nasty intent. Rain that had been bloody briefed. Maybe even evil rain, if rain can be an evil thing. It came down in thick, punishing waves, the clouds rolling to smother and cover the sun, as though it had farted perhaps and followed through at a quiet moment at a formal dinner party or maybe even a funeral. I buttoned my coat against it, the rain, that is. Well, I said, that's what my beloved Scotland does, doesn't it, darling? Look laughed, which I felt was entirely the correct response to my statement. I liked her laugh. Her amusement was welcome and a reward, so I continued on the theme. Yes, of course I did. Give it a moment, my dear, and the weather will get bored and turn into something else, won't it? Yes, another laugh. Although on the bright side, it keeps those damn midges at bay, what? We encamped for a moment, companionably, as we battened down our layers of clothing. The storm was doing its absolute best to be taken seriously, let's just say that.
They are meant to find this bloody unpleasant, not a challenge,
said Belphastus, somewhere between the thunder and his own expectations. It was somewhat disconcerting that I could hear the fellow in my mind. Maybe he could hear me. That would be a thing, what? I know what, I could test it. Let me try and communicate with this bleeder. Oh, it's unpleasant, but it's also a challenge, I said, grooming my somewhat wind-weary moustache. You heard. Good. Look, also seemed to be hearing our words. She did not question what I was saying, but just gave me a supportive smile as I delivered my lines. Terribly inconvenient, this wind and rain. What ruins the old barnet? Ha ha! I continued.
I find it very character building.
Added look. Not that you have to build such, my dear, I replied, bowing and kissing the back of her hand. You are a personification of luck that does not lack character. I remarked. a bit whimsical of me, but if it were to help Belphastus's irritation, then ballyhoo to that. It did. I mean, irritate Belphastus, that is. He was clearly feeling somewhat underappreciated, and I'd say he was a little more annoyed after my response. As a response from him, he turned the inclement weather up a couple of notches on the old belligerentedness scale. The wind sharpened. Yeah, bally good description there, writers. It sharpened into something with edges, trying to cut through our tied-down layers. The rain perked up somewhat to it, stopped its drear delusional downpour, and began traversing the sky somewhat, well, sideways, adding personification to these things, you know, such tosh that certain writers expound to a non-living thing like weather. Looked at me, as I had to reassure her a little bit. No, not in your case, my dear. Anyway, back to the rain. We could say that the rain did this with, you know, the sideways bit, with obvious alarming enthusiasm to become the sort of storm that could make other men with that presupposition to such abhorrent things write trite poetry or pointless apologies. For men without those unhelpful qualities, it just made them bloody run for shelter, which it should. I, not being either sort of man, vague, I know, yes, held the lady next to me a little more supportively, and then leaned into all that the sky had to give us, smiling. Now that's more like it, some bloody proper weather, what? Luck grinned.
Proper flying weather,
she said, to which I had to laugh in response. I mean, to throw the old canvas-bound kite up into this nonsense was not the move of any sensibly minded flyer. But, well, I was not such a renowned aviator due to my commonsensical approach to flying, was I? You can say I flew on the coattails of my inspiration, who was in my arms now, Look herself. I let go of my mirth. Wah, 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 wah. A laugh which was released and then stolen away by the ravenous wind. Indeed, if one survives in such a tempest as this, then one earns one's tea, what? I told the young woman. In my mind, I heard Belphastus make a noise that suggested a being reconsidering several life choices, most of them involving us. I could not see him, just hear him, but in my imagination I could see him striding about the professor's drawing room with an inclement temper.
Fine, fine.
He snapped.
Let us see how you like meeting your memories.
Oh, now my confidence and my attitude to the weather was somewhat, subdued. That I must admit was a more interesting move on his part. Maybe he was a little more intelligent than I had thought. Then they came out of the storm like sins remembered too late. Those bally-possessed airships from my past. Airships, yes, Zeppelin things, but, well, wrong. Those undignified drifting beasts of my earliest flight years. These things writhed. Their skins bulged and split. Lightning crawled across them like something alive and deeply unpleasant, which frankly, well, they were. The ropes beneath them twisted and dangled like tentacles, reaching, searching. They wore the storm they created as a crown, and the sky bent itself around them in quiet surrender. I felt something rather unexpected. Good Lord, I said, brightening. It's them! Understated. Look followed my gaze.
Oh, yes, it's them. Old friends of ours?
Yes, well, in a manner of speaking, what? I said. They would not be the first friends who tried to kill me. My dear, the prior lesson they taught me was very, very formative.
Same.
She smiled. I waved at one, which felt polite, but in hindsight, well, it's slightly embarrassing of an English gentleman to wave at a Zeppelin. I had wondered what became of them, I told Luck. We never did get to grips with the bastards, if you remember. Bloody Simon took them down with that bloody Cthulian, that Kraken-y thing before we even got a shot in. I've often wondered what would have happened if we'd had a proper run at the blighters. Luck nodded her approval. I suppose it depends whether or not you have luck on your side, I told her. She smiled, nodded, and gave me somewhat of a conspirational wink. Good show, tally-ho, chaps. Here we bloody come then, I said. Yes, you can tell I added it with some enthusiasm. It's getting time for us to hit the crease, my dear. What? Who doesn't get a simple cricketing reference? Well, yes, bless them. They don't have the mental fortitude for a game that takes several days and has breaks for tea and lunch, no? Oh. Okay, what should I replace to hit the crease with and why? I beg your pardon? What do you mean it could be misconstrued as me doing what to Lady Luck? Only for those with disgusting minds. Philistines, all of you. Not a single bloody gentleman amongst you writers. No.
Bloody airy-fairy word artists.
Okay, how about... It was time for me to get right up amongst them. What do you mean that could be misconstrued too? Perhaps a suggestion from you then, huh? Okay, literal. How it should be, in my opinion. None of this stuff. Him. It is time for us to fight the ruddy bastards. Is that okay? Glad you bloody approve. Making innuendo out of that, you bounders.
You're supposed to be afraid, you bastard.
Echoed in my head as Belphastus insisted the unsistable. Afraid of what? I said. I was confused. My dear fellow, I've been somewhat bored for nigh on 6 decades now. This is practically a reunion tour. My look laughed like a timpani of bells, and I realized with a small satisfied certainty that whatever hell this was meant to be, it had already gone slightly off script for the hell presenting the representer, or something. Talking of whom, old Belphastus had become very quiet, which is always worrying.
Very well. Let us try something a little more, shall we say, personal.
He said with the careful precision of someone deploying their final argument. And then the violent sky violently changed again. Well, not changed, but had the unaddables suddenly added to it, or something like that. He came out of it not like a memory, but like a certainty. He came out of it because usually he would come out of the sun, which was his bloody best tactic for an attack, but in this case there was no sun. Manfred Albrecht von Richthofen. Not easy for me to say how to remember, to be honest, but better known to history as the Red Baron.
Dun dun dun.
First World War German flying ace. Even now one must take a moment. In fact, everything took a moment in this reality. Yes, let's consider this a reality of sorts. Anyway, in this reality, I took a deep breath to let this sink in. Don't get me wrong, the moment in breath was not taken out of fear. Good goodness me, no. Not out of fear, no, but out of professional courtesy. I didn't fear the Baron. I recognized something in him that made me think. The man, the legend that flew the red triplane, was quite simply bloody good at it.
That is English understatement for an incredibly skilled pilot.
Helpfully explained, look, as if I needed a translator for certain audiences. This man was not merely skilled, not merely lucky, though he had possessed enough of that luck to be as irritating as I, but he was possessed of that rare crystalline clarity in the air. He saw the sky much as I did, a series of decisions already made. He had 80 confirmed victories, and one suspects several more than that simply hadn't had the decencies to be counted by observers. He had begun his career as many do, in the cavalry, in the mud, horses, the general indignity of terrestrial warfare, before discovering the sky offered a much cleaner sort of dirty killing. There in the sky, he became something close to, how could I describe him? Well, flyer, yes. In fact, he became eponymous as one. He was the flyer. To me, a flyer who was my worthiest and most deadly opponent because he was inevitably, well, invincible. For me, that is. Of course, there were embellishments to the story, rumours, mostly whispered things in mess halls and dim corners that somewhere along the line, somewhere between victories and legend, apparently he had encountered something older at some point, something nocturnal, something like Dracula, though one suspects even Dracula might have taken notes from this man about being on the wing. You know, Dracula being able to be a bat and stuff. Whether bitten, blessed, or simply improved upon, the Baron had acquired that faint, unsettling edge that one doesn't learn in training. Not that we had training in those days, oh no. As I thought all these thoughts, he landed his plane lightly as the maelstrom around him tried to do all it could to destroy it and him. Well, that's rum luck, what? I said, genuinely pleased to see him.
This is a turn-up for the old books.
Look, glance between us.
You know him?
I smiled at her. Was she being her tricky self? What? Don't you know him, my dear? I questioned. The Baron had seemed to have been very lucky in my mind, so how did she not know him? It would be somewhat bizarre if she'd not known him.
Never laid eyes on him before.
She said with emerald green orbs of not eyes.
But you have?
Not a question from her this time, a statement of fact. Oh, yes, rather, I said. We tried to kill each other quite often for quite a few years. Never quite bloody managed it, I ruminated. It was all very sporting, actually. Gentlemanly evening. Airborne chivalry and all that good chappedness nonsense. Knights of the sky, dueling our flitting steeds.
Very trite.
I again scratched at the old stubbly chin in consideration of the statement. I considered it, and then I stopped doing so out of a lack of realization of my realization. I had rather thought that you had been there for many of those contests between us, my dear, you know, watching one's back and all. She shook her head and shrugged apologetically. Ah, I said, a little taken aback at the fact that I had done all those things on my own.
What do you think he wants?
She asked. I returned to the when and now from the past and then, turning to the plane and the contents of its cockpit as it rolled up jauntily beside us, and there he was, just as I did not remember him. The Baron. He inclined his head just slightly, professional acknowledgement, you know. Belphastus in my head sounded hopeful again.
Yes, Wing Commander. Now you suffer the old memories of loss.
Here, what? I'm not using that bloody word to describe this bloody riposte in front of a lady. Well, yes, I realise that I suppose it is he is the kind of scoundrel that would use such verbiage. Okay, here, my apologies, not my words here, listeners, it's bloody writers. Yes, Wing Commander, now you suffer the old memories of loss. He ejaculated. Disgusting.
Ejaculated?
Back to the story. Belphastus thought that he had me with the Baron. A partial fool, our Belphastus was, what? Good heavens, man, I said. No, I don't suffer from those memories, I said, not masking my evident excitement. Because now we might get to fight. There was a pause. Then a new voice, smooth as sin and considerably better dressed, sort of drifted in.
Thought you might need this.
The rain stopped. The wind stopped. Everything just stopped, and the hangar doors on the hangar that had not been there a mere millisecond ago opened. This wasn't as shocking as you thought it might have been, you know, however you thunk it. I mean, I should have been somewhat perturbed by this sudden appearance, but in reality, the building that had just appeared had always been there if you catch one's Rorke's drift. A huge, outlandish modern sign was attached to the side of the hangar. A sign so large and insipidly coloured that if there were life on Mars, the Martians would definitely have approached their local galactic planning department to ask for it to be removed, as it was a pseudopodic eyesore as seen from their homeworld. Ours, on a preposterous hand-drawn card of sorts, was brought a huge canvas-covered object. The things bringing it were... the zombies from Amazombie.
That's lucky.
They trundled over to us with the trundling handcart until they got somewhat uncomfortably close to us. The lady and I stood staring at this ineffable approach. I mean, what else was there to do? Everything else had sort of stopped. The first zombie took off his flat cap and turned eyeless sockets towards me.
It's right bloody dark in here, isn't it?
He stated. The other zombie reached and grabbed the shoulder of his co-worker's boiler suit.
You need your eye in, Bert.
It said.
Oh, aye.
Replied, I assume Bert, as he reached down and fumbled in his pocket to grab something. He continued to fumble until he found what he was looking for and slipped it into his empty eye socket.
Still seems bloody dark, Bert.
Bert said to the other, Bert.
That's a pickled egg, Bert, you got there, you daft bat.
The other Bert laughed, who wasn't the Bert with the pickled egg in his eye, but the other Bert who was holding on to Bert's shoulder. The other Bert, the one we have now established as Pickled Egg Bert, laughed along with him. It was strange listening to two zombies laugh. It was a dry laugh, like the sort of laugh that a tomb of the ancient desert would have if it could laugh. It sounded somewhat uncomfortable.
Hey, we do have a laugh at Amazombie, don't we, Bert? Each day's an adventurous art, isn't it, Bert?
He said as he rummaged in his pocket.
Give us a more.
He said to me. He went back to rummaging through his pockets.
No, it's gone. I must have bloody eaten it instead of the boiled egg with my brain sandwich in.
He admitted.
I thought it were right bloody tasty.
He laughed.
Bert, can you do the honour? Sorry, there's an outtake there. I thought it were right tasty. Bert, can you do the honours while I get myself another eyeball? Aye,
said the other bird. I as in a northern dialect, yes, not I as in I in an I. Pickled egg bird passed the clipboard to the other bird, who somehow put glasses onto her head that had no ears or nose. Oh. He followed the writing on the clipboard with a finger. It wasn't his finger, it was a spare finger. It was... Anyway.
Package for Wing Commander Montgomery from Lucifer Morning Star.
He read. That's me, old chap, I replied.
That's him. Oh dear.
The zombie stared at me, then...
That's ages, that it?
Retorted the reading bird. What is old chap? I asked him.
Old chap.
He said it again.
Remonstrated the glasses-wearing bird, pointing the spare finger at me.
He's assuming I'm old because I'm a zombie. Clever, ain't it? I'm a zombie.
Said the pickled egg bird.
No, it's bloody not.
Said glasses.
No, I'm a zombie's clever bird.
Continued Egg Eye.
I ought to report this to Amazombie's corporate HR capability. I bet you're a bloody livist too, ain't you? Eh?
He added quickly. I think he was somewhat angered, but with a lack of facial expression due to his face being, well, sort of hard and crumbly, and with a lack of tone in his voice. I couldn't tell if he was angered or not. I was bloody confused, to be honest. Time passed. Thankfully.
Shush,
said Eggibert, turning to where the glasses zombie wasn't.
There's no need for that. This isn't Thatcher's bloody Britain no more, Bert.
He told the empty space where he thought the complaining clipboard holder wasn't. I wish I could say I saw the chastised zombie think about this, but how can one tell if a zombie is thinking? Eventually, I got a...
Sorry about that, sir.
From the pickled egg bird, thinking it was facing me.
We have this for you,
he said, pointing at where the package wasn't either.
I'm sorry,
said the clipboard holding zombie as it came forward in a storm of halitosis, apologies and crumbly skin.
I were a union man in my former life. Been a rough afterlife too, if I'm honest. Could you sign here, please?
It asked, almost nicely. I signed on the line and handed a pen back to him, which he tried to place behind an ear several times before remembering he didn't actually, in fact, have any ears to put it in behind, so he put it in his pocket. The eggy zombie bowed at no one.
And please remember to give us a 5-star rating at Amazombie.com, won't you? You get it, don't you? I'm a zombie. We're all zombies here, you see, and we deliver like Amazon. I'm a zombie. He's a zombie. I'm a zombie. Clever, ain't it?
I had no idea what the poor old... the dead chap... the chap... It definitely was a chap, I hope, was going on about, so I nodded, which would not help him know whether I got it or not, because he was trying to use the pickled egg as an eye. You can see my nod, see what I'm trying to tell you. Anyway, back to it. Yeah. Yes, well, thanks, I told the two of them.
Yes. Well, thanks.
But Glasses then came and took the pickled egg bird by the shoulder, turning him around and steering him back towards the giant doors behind them. Both Luck and I just stared at them as they walked nonchalantly back to the hangar. When they reached it, they entered and then disappeared. No, No, not just the zombies. The whole bloody thing. You know, zombies, hanger and all. I turned to look with somewhat of a quizzical look as to what had just happened. Luckily, she had the same look as the look I had while looking at... Look.
A huge package, Wing Commander.
She winked. I didn't get it. She shrugged, bemused, and walked over to the canvas-covered item on the trailer. I followed, and she turned back towards me, smiling and holding the canvas.
May I?
She asked. I nodded my agreement. Of course, my dear. She quickly whipped away the canvas, which seemed to dissolve into the still air.
Ta-da!
My goodness, what a glorious sight!
Thank you. I did my hair.
Lucy Morningstar must have summoned my weapon of choice for such an adventure, and reality and Amazombie obliged by delivering it. It was a rather lovely Bristol F.2 Fighter, all wood wire and quiet menace. I say, I gasped.
You say what?
The devil asked.
He cannot say anything at the moment, Lucy. He is struck dumb because of the stupid contraption you sent him.
Stupid contraption? I quickly reacted, then redacted, as I realized this was Luke's effort to pull me out of my dumbstruck state and make an active participant in what was currently happening. Oh, yes. Bravo, Luke, I conceded to the green-eyed goddess.
You're welcome.
Do try not to scratch it. The War Museum wants it back.
I beamed at the delightful little kit before me. Magnificent, I said, sounding out each perfect little syllable of the only word that could actually report how I felt about this little F-2 fighter. Turning, I offered Luke a hand to climb onto the wing. After you, my dear.
Why, thank you, sir.
Co-pilot seat. Best bloody view in the house for my best bloody lady. She took my offered hand and stepped up with easy confidence, as though boarding a death-defying aircraft in hell was precisely how she'd sort of planned to spend that afternoon. Probably was, to be honest, knowing these god types and what they know about guff. Once she was in, I lowered my undercarriage into my position. I sank into it, struggled and snuggled, finally settling into the pilot seat, hands finding the familiar places for them. The flying machine hummed with the peculiar promise only a good aircraft does. Across the field, holding a salute still, the Baron waited. The weather switched back on, and above us the nightmare airships writhed behind it all. Belphastus fumed gloriously.
Oh, do stop sulking, Belphastus.
Lucifer said mildly.
You gave him his hell as you thought it would look. Little did you know that a desk with paperwork in GCHQ is Monty's hell. I know. No, I really do know.
I changed my mind then. I wanna change.
Oh no, my dear. Under my... Never mind, you're not my anything. The game is on. You took your metaphorical hand off the pieces. They must be played as stands. Flies? It warms my heart, if I had such a thing, that you thought a man like Monty would quail at this. Your idea of his... hell.
Gosh, the lady was bloody correct. This was bloody wonderful. I grinned as I pushed the throttle forward. Right then, I said as the plane started to roll. I saluted the Baron as his plane moved to mine in response. Let's see if we can finally settle this, old chap.
Tally-hoo!